Pivot table is an Excel functionality which enables you to quickly analyze your data and generate insights with just few clicks. For example, if you want to know sales by product in each country or which segment is most profitable, let's use this financial data to learn pivot tables. But before that, there are few things which we need to keep in mind. First one is each column has a header. The second thing which you need to ensure is no empty row or column in between. And the third and final thing, no total or subtotal in the data. Pivot table can be created using the range, the way we have here, or using the Excel tables as well. The only advantage of having Excel table as the source of pivot table is when you have more data, when you add additional data to the table, the pivot table will automatically take the extended range in the table. Whereas if you are using the Excel range, you may have to extend the range of the pivot table manually. So let's use Excel tables to create this pivot table. And to do that, I can go to data and or I can go to the insert and I can say table. Now I am converting this range into tables and my table has headers. The first row would be considered as table as headers. When I press OK, this entire range is converted into a table. The shortcut to convert the range into table is Control T. You can toggle between Control T and you can create or remove Excel tables. Once you convert the range into the table, go to Insert and go to Tables and add a pivot table. Now, when you do that, it will automatically take that range name and our this data range name is table 1 and you can select where do you want to create this pivot table on a new worksheet or on some existing worksheet which you already have. But before that, let's also look at another way to create a pivot table. So you go to insert tables and then you have recommended tables. So Microsoft recommends certain pivot tables based on your data structure. When you click on that, it says that it shows various pivot tables which are already created. I select this particular pivot table and I say OK, and it has created a pivot table in a new tab altogether. Now on this page, on the left hand side, you see the pivot table created, and on the right hand side, you see pivot table fields or the pivot table layout. You can change the layout of the pivot table or basically pivot fields using the settings. This is the default setting where you can see all the fields which are there in your data listed and all the pivot table fields listed below. But just to get enough space for or look at all the fields which are available in my data, I prefer to use the second one, field selection and area selection side by side. Now, as you see, the country is already appearing in the rows filter or the rows field, and in the value, profit is coming automatically as sum of profit. Now, if I want to change for some reason, if I want to change sum of profit to average of profits, then I can go here, I can select value field setting and I can make the sum or change the sum to averages. And now all the countries would have average profit associated with it. Let me revert it back to sum. And so now if you want to change the date number format of this particular column, what I can do is I can right click on this particular complete column on the data and I say number format. Please refrain to select the format or change the format using the format cell option because it is only going to be changing the format of the cell which is behind this pivot table. I would advise you to select number format. After number format, you can choose currency, press OK, and it will change the format for each and every field or each and every row within this particular pivot table. Now, sum of profit doesn't look like a logical name. If I want to convert it to a logical name and if I say profit, it doesn't allow me to do that because profit is already a field within my table and you see profit is selected here. The trick is you just give a space and it accepts as the logical name and row labels are basically country, and I again give a space. So this is how you can rename the pivot table headers. Now, what you can also do is you can, along with profit, you can have sales as well, and you can take sum of sales. Similar to what we have done with the profits, I will be formatting this cell as well, and in the currency. And here as well, I'll be changing the name to sales. And looks like the sales is also available. Now, what you can also see is there are a couple of more pivot fields which are available. So we have filters. Now, what can we do in filters? So let's say I have multiple segments in the filter or in the data, and I want to check the sales or profit by country within that segment. I can get segments into the filter. And now you see the segment is appearing in the page filter. I can select a particular segment, or I can select multiple segments, and I can check the sales and the profit for those selected segments. Let me select government, and it shows me the profit and sales for the government segments by country. I can sort the pivot table column by right clicking on the column and the sort option, and I can select sort largest to smallest, and I can see that all the country which has the highest cell is appearing on top. We looked at the filter page selection for pivot table. Now there is another field which is column field within the pivot table. What is the use of this? I have years, and let me get the years in the column field. And what you can see is that it allows me to have profit and sales within each year for each country for the selected segment. And what I also see is that it is giving me a subtotal for 2013, and it is giving me a total for, sorry, it is giving me grand total for both profit and sales. How can I enable or disable this? Let's go to designing of the pivot table. I can select grand totals. I can say off grand total for rows and columns. When I do that, it is not going to give me grand total for columns and for the rows. Let me bring the grand total at least for the columns back. And now what I can do, another thing I can do with this, I can say subtotal, show all subtotals at the bottom of the group. When I do that, since there is no other row column or row level field is selected, let me also get product along with it. And now you can see that I have country and each product within the country and profit and sale associated with that. Now I can go here, I can switch off or switch on the subtotals. Another thing I can do is I can go to the data, go to the design, and I can also select the report layout. I prefer having the data in a tabular format, and I get the data like this. Another thing I can do is that I can repeat all items of the label. So as you see, the country is not getting repeated for each product within that country. And when I say repeat all items, I get country repeated for each of the product. For the sake of simplicity, I have removed additional columns. What if I want to copy this pivot table to somewhere else? I click somewhere in the pivot table, I go to select within pivot table analyze, and I select entire pivot table, copy this, paste it somewhere else. Now what I can do is I can also change the sum of profit to, or I can summarize the value, profit value by percentage of profit. So what I can understand now is that Germany is, or basically France is the country which is giving me the most profit followed by Germany. And again, I can sort my data to have a meaningful result. You can change the look and feel of the pivot table by clicking on the pivot table and go to design tab. Within that, you have multiple pre-built designs available for pivot table, which you can choose from. You can also have banded rows, and we allow uh, and banded columns, and then you have the layouts which are reflecting banded rows and banded columns as well. To analyze data, you have a very interesting functionality, which is add a filter or a slicer. Now I can choose which slicer I want to add. So let's say I take product as the slicer and segment as the slicer. When I do that, it, Excel would add two slicers for me. One is product, the second one is segment. What I can also do is I can change the slicer setting. So I can have two products in the same column and it will give me this. I can adjust the row and width of the slicer. Can also have this. Now, when you select a particular product, it will show, this pivot table will show the profit for only that product. Similarly, if I select a particular segment within it, now this particular pivot table is showing me the profit for government segment and the product which is selected here. As you can see, the slicers are only connected to this particular pivot table and not the first pivot table. How do I connect this particular slicer to both the pivot tables? To do that, I right click on my slicer, I go to report connection and I select the first pivot table as well and click OK. Similarly, on the second slicer as well, I select report connections, select the other pivot table. Now, if I make a change here, you would see my profit in the first pivot table is also changing. Another interesting filter in pivot tables is timeline. Since I have a date and the data field date, as you can see here, which is in the date format, the correct date format, the Excel would also allow me to insert timeline. When I do this, it has added a timeline and now, and let me go to report connection. Let me connect this date filter also with both the tables. What you can see now is that it is currently showing me the the profit and the percentage profit for all of the range. What if I select only March or only June? Maybe this data, this product was not available. And when you do that, or you expand your analysis criteria or range, you would see the profit and the profit percentage changing for particular date selected. Start of the video, I've told that if you are using table, it is going to be very easy for you to add new data to it. Let's try to add a new data and let me copy this complete thing. What I would do is that I would change the country to India. And when I do this, when I come here, refresh my pivot tables and select all because country may not, India may not be available and the product may not be available, you would see country India is appearing in my table, pivot table. Hope you like this video. Subscribe my channel to get more or frequent updates to the Excel tricks and tips. Thank you.